All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rachah, Kodash. I want to give double honors to my apostle and others, Great Millstone, who teach very well. Well, I learned this truth from his salutation out there to the hopeful lick, who continue to push this word in all truth, faith, and sincerity. And on today, man, just basically getting on, everybody is tired of the U.S. dollar, man. Because for lack of better words, this whore, her riches have played their part throughout the whole planet Earth. It's getting to the point when everybody is tired of it. For the lack of better words, inflation throughout the years is making this currency worth nothing. And ultimately, these other countries and nations, they want to do their own thing. And we already know about the BRICS nations and different currencies that backed up by gold. And ultimately, we know that this devil is going to use a digital system to be the new form of currency here upon the planet Earth, man. And that digital system might be backed up by gold, man. But guess what? It's going to involve a device. Because you have to realize, man, one way that Esau have complete control of the planet Earth is through his finances. Because why? Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. But a key factor to show you that the earth is given unto him, the U.S. dollar is the guy that, the U.S. dollar is the currency that rules the whole planet. Now, real quick, I'm going to get this in the book of Ecclesiastes 7, and I'm going to start at verse 11. Matter of fact, verse 12, so like him. It says, for wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. And yes, man, this is how Esau have been defending his kingdom, whether it be paying somebody off or even investing in a proxy war, But it also says wisdom is a defense, man. And us, here at Great Millstone, from the apostles on down to younger brothers like myself, we have the wisdom, man. And not just any ordinary wisdom of how to fix a Cadillac. No, we have the wisdom of the Most High, the wisdom of the heavens, which ultimately trumps everything upon the planet Earth. But let's read this again. It says, for wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense, right? But it says, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life unto them that have it. And that's the reason why you see that this kingdom is going down. Because even then, just talking about these other nations, now they have became wise that the U.S. dollar was full of BS. And they could do better all by themselves. And that's the reason why they pushing forth their own currency, their own way of life, whether it be a regional thing or a country thing. Now, real quick, since I just pulled that out, let's get this real quick. I had just a regular Google definition, man. It says what? Countries moving away from the U.S. dollar. It says the BRICS nations. I just mentioned it. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are leading the charge to trade their own currencies. Russia has increasingly used China yuan for trade after being restricted from the SWIFT system. And that SWIFT system is basically this American type of, for lack of better words, the American way to trade and things like that. But they said Russia had been moving away with that, and they've been dealing with China one-on-one. There's two mega powers dealing and leaving the U.S. out, Now let's read a little bit more. It says several nations are actively reducing reliance on the U.S. dollar and processing it's like a process known as de-dollarization, driven by BRICS. We just read who that is. It says incentives, geopolitical tensions, in the desire to avoid Western sanctions. And that's what Trump is throwing around these sanctions like a mug, Continuing on, key countries replacing the dollar with local currencies or the yuan include Russia, China, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Now, one thing that makes Saudi Arabia a big plan right here is what? The U.S. dollar is backed up by the petrol, and their petrol is the oil. It's called petrodollar, and that happened around, if I'm not mistaken, I think between like the 1970s and 1973, but the early 1970s, Richard Nixon did away with the silver standard. In that silver standard, instead of that dollar being backed up by gold, instead of that dollar being backed up by silver, now that dollar is being backed up by oil. And also just going back into Roosevelt during the Great Depression, he's the one that did away with the gold standard. So if you do away with the gold and silver standard, and now the dollar is only based on oil, and now it's less valuable. Now the reason why Saudi Arabia is a key component into this, because Saudi Arabia owns a lot of oil, and they still moving away from the deal that they did with the U.S. in the 1970s, man. They bagged up the petrodollar, and it just shows you that this whole world is going into a new way of life. And that new way of life is going to start off with that NWO, this global thing, this global currency that these people are trying to come together is going to be under a banner of a CHIP. You know, let's read a little bit more of this. It says, China actively promotes the yuan, petro yuan, for energy with significant settlements. Russia, following the sanctions, yeah, because Russia really banned, but they still getting around. And the reason why, because of that power. And they have things that other nations need, man. And one of those things is the missiles, you know. But even the defense, for the lack of better words, Russia be a guard to other countries like Iran, you know, Brazil, Argentina, you know. So like it says Brazil has strengthened financial ties with China, allowing direct transaction settlement in yuan and renminbi. Other countries, Iran, Turkey, Venezuela, and we can see what they just did with the guy in Venezuela who was moving away from the U.S. dollar, you know. It says are exploring alternative currencies to reduce dependence on the U.S. dollar. And again, it's because of inflation. The dollar is not worth what it was 10 or 15 years ago. You know, even 5 years ago, number bag of chips was $4 for $1. Then it came for $3 for $1, and then it came two for $1, man. From 25 cents to 50 cents. That's a 100% increase over the past 15 years. Not even 15, probably damn 10 or 7. So that's a 100% increase. It doubled its price. So just imagine other things, man. Whether it be 10 cents here, a penny here, 5 cents here, a nickel here, 25 cents. You know, instead of the dollar store being a dollar store, now it's the $1.25 store. And they just said, forget that. We just gonna make 5 and below. Everything $5 and under. Which just shows you the failure of this company or this corporation known as America or Babylon the Great, man. You know, but just going back into the whole point, the dollar is losing its value. $100 don't get what you get back in the day, man. You know, let's read a little bit more. Reasons for de-dollarization: sanction invasions. Countries like Russia and Iran seek to mitigate the impact of U.S.-led sanctions. Monetary sovereignty. Developing nations aim to reduce vulnerability to U.S. monetary policy. And that's even these younger countries, such as the Philippines and certain countries in Africa who don't have a lot. They're real small, but they have excellent resources, whether it be gas, you know, or those different rare earth minerals that Esau in love with, you know. Continuing on, it says to shift local currencies. Growing preference to use bilateral currencies for trade to reduce transaction costs. While the dollar remains the dominant global reserve currency, these moves signal a long-term structural shift toward a more multipolar financial world. And that multipolar financial world is going to be led off with this tiny little device known as what? The CHIP, the MOTB, which will try the whole world. You know, they sent up the global currency. They sent up the new world order, and it's going to be under the banner of money. That's why the scripture said, what? Money is a defense. It's a reason why this guy's trying to push forth basic income and all those different things. Let's get this in Revelation 3 and verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. Because brother's going to suffer. You know, you ain't got no money to go get something to eat. You know, and it's going to get to a point. If you ain't got no money, you can't come to the city. If you ain't got the device, you can't come to the city. You want to go to Piggly Wiggly. You know, the next Piggly Wiggly is 40 minutes out. And you travel those 40 minutes and you get there and they say, yeah, man, you got to have the CHIP too. You know? prophecy is finna get ready to be made manifest upon the planet Earth, man. In that hour of temptation, these devils are going to tempt you with comfortability. Or going back into their old life, niggas say, yeah, man, we're going to give you Wi-Fi and free Netflix. Just take this, you know? And niggas going to do it. But Yahweh Shemel Shah, he's going to keep us from this, man. You know, that's why we catching hell now and building up ourselves now, man. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And yes, that's why this global currency is getting pushed forth throughout the four corners of the world. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, the Philippines, Brazil, Venezuela, all these big dogs is finna do what? Come together under one world currency, man. And that one world currency is going to be what? That seal. Revelations 13 and verse 16. And he calls us all. Now that all is just not people in the Western Hemisphere. And this how you know this is just not talking about sleeping with white women, you know, or the ideas in your mind and the actions you do in your hand. No. This is going to be a thing that's going to affect everybody upon the planet Earth. The rubies in India, you know, the yuan in China, you know, the kari or whatever, the kari or whatever it's called up there in Iran. You know what I'm saying? The pesos in Mexico, it's going to affect everybody. That's why it says he causes all. That word causes actually goes back into a certain law being pushed forth. It says that he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right there, why is that word rich and poor right there? Because again, in order for you to continue to have those carnal riches that Esau gave you, he's going to require you to take a device. You know, in order for you to get more money, this guy's going to require you to take a device, man. And this is going to be on the banner of money. Again, money is a defense, but also the wisdom of Yahweh Shemel Shai is the biggest defense that we can have here in these latter days. Let's continue on. It says to receive a mark, a karakma, in their right hand or in their foreheads. And again, that's going to be a tiny little device, a physical thing that they're going to put inside your body, not only to give you direct deposit, but to track you, track your heartbeat, know what blood type you got your medical records, everything that you're allergic to, you know. This guy, he's going to try to have complete control, and it's going to be on the banner in this little device. And that little device is going to get pushed forth on a heavy level because of the money. You know, times already, I seen the post say when I was 8 years old, an apartment was $500. But now you fast forward, an apartment $2,000, a studio. You know, and that just shows you it ain't like that the apartments is getting more bigger and better. No, it's the money is getting weaker through age. You know? Continuing on, and that no man might buy or sell, save he hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So the point of this de-dollarization is for these devils to come together, to come with one world government currency under this device. So yeah, I just quickly video I pray was edified. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Chakwadash. I want to give double honors to my apostle.